not on my this thing. Okay, so now there's been a serious technical issue with all this internet. So that's what is going on. So that's why we had to cut off and start a new podcast. Um, so let me see to make sure it's not showing at all. Let's see all these technical issues. Who's letting her come downstairs? So I don't think it is. It's not here now. It's not even entering. Okay, I'm looking at it. Yeah. So we have all these technical issues. We're just trying to resolve them, but we'll continue. The technical issues not correcting me. So corrector. So now, first of all, when I wanted to marry my wife, you know, they went to meet her father. As I was saying, they went to meet her father, and they said, "What is her father? Why would that? Do you know who you want to give your child to?" Now, the two of us were born and brought up in the same church. Me and my wife were born and brought up in the same church. So now they are going to meet the father to ask, "Do you know who you want to give your child?" But meanwhile, my wife's dad and the mom, we've had fellowship together. We have prayed together. I've come to their house. We have communed in fellowship. You see, any friendship that the foundation is in Christ Jesus, nobody can break it. The foundation of our friendship was true fellowship. And nobody could understand it. Because they said, how can this one pray? They couldn't even still believe that I can pray. The Bible says a prophet is without honor except in his own house. A prophet is without honor except in his own town. Because I was born there. Is this not the carpenter's son? That's how it was with Jesus. So because I was born there and I grew up there, so who is this one that wants to be a man of God? So the writer said, do you know who you are giving your daughter to? Don't worry now. Before 2 years time, you will see what will happen. Before 1 year, about 6 months, you people will see, people will start crying. You will regret giving your daughter to this man. Another man that from nowhere came and said that he wanted my wife for his own son. Because his money is ancient money. They used to have money in the past. All those 1992 money. That's what the guy used to, so they used to tell everybody in church that wants to hear that they have money more than everybody. He now came and said that he has marked my wife for his son, So, and the son is in America, so he wants to marry her in Nigeria for the son in America. Then I said, they say it's too late to, he has already come to do knocking on the door. So all of them were coming like that. Then after they go and meet my wife, they'll come and meet me. They'll say, do you know the wretched family you are entering? The family that they don't have anything, they are poor people. The wretched family today is the family that all of them are lining up to beg money. You see, these kind of things are happening in different people's lives and in churches. Especially churches when you grow up and you are born and brought up there, that they don't preach love. That there's no gospel of love. There was no love. So, when that happened, I now began to retrace my step, and I ran away from hearing about my past. But it has motivated me to talk more about it as my testimony. Because many people think that I'm hiding it. I don't hide what I was, because it's not what I am now. Because Jesus came and set me free. And it's a great testimony to know what Jesus set me free from. He set me free from the hands of darkness. Jesus set me free from darkness itself. Jesus sets me free. So, what happened next was that I began to watch Kelvin as we're spending in the hotels. And as we're spending in the hotels, where Kelvin was paying for all the prostitutes that he could pay for. And we're all chilling and relaxing there, day and night. And we're smoking. But it was my car we're using for movement. The car that was supposed to be for evangelism. That's the car that we're using for movement. And the only reason my father permitted me to have that car was because they thought it was for evangelism. So after that, Kelvin now wanted to go back home. And then they knew that I was coming to America and I was about to go for my interview for my green card. So when I got to the embassy, when they gave me my visa, I ran from those boys. I did not talk to them until I left the country. So when I left the country, I got to America. When I got to America, I now began to realize that the problems, I began to realize that the problems of America was more than the problems of Nigeria. The problems of America was more than the problems of Nigeria. First of all, it was all about bills, 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 bills. Then I was living with my auntie. So while I was living with my auntie, as I went back to America, I began to retrace my steps. I began to rededicate my life to God. I was trying to be prayerful again. But in between, I met a girl. Her name was Ifoma. So when I met the girl kept, she was already in America before me. The both of us were now 18. She was 18, I was 18. So she was always coming to my auntie's house. Because then Me, my mom and I, and my auntie, with my cousins. Some of us were living in this big house in America. So anytime this girl comes, most times everywhere is always busy in America. People are always going to work. So my mother was always at work. My auntie, all of them, they like going to work. So it was only me and this girl that were always in the house with one of my cousins. So I used to sleep upstairs. And like that upstairs was like close to the roof. So this girl used to come to me and disturb me. She said she liked me. She wanted to sleep with me. So during that period, I began to sleep with this girl. So, and I was 18 and she was 18. So after that, somebody told the pastor of the church we were going to, and the name of the church then was Oracle of God. Somebody told the pastor of the church that, see this guy that you are, that comes to your church and keeps quiet and hides at the back. This guy is a man of God, though, because God has been using him to do great things in Africa, in Nigeria. He used to go to hospitals, he used to heal the sick and the rest of them. So they were telling him. So as we were telling him, he now called me and began to talk to me. That he did not know all these things about me, but I was just coming to the church. And I told him that yes, it's true, but I don't like talking about things like that. So he said that no, that he has to give me opportunity to preach in the church. So when he said he was giving me opportunity to preach, and I needed mentorship anyway. I knew that I needed someone to look up to. At that time, I was too young to even know what to do with what God had given me. I didn't even understand it. I didn't understand the vision. I didn't understand where I was going. I just knew that I had these gifts. So when he called me to come and preach, he told me, oh, you're preaching next Sunday. I went into 3 days prayer and fasting. Because I was praying to God that God should forgive me for everything I've been doing. And that God should, because I knew I was not living right. That God should forgive me about that girl that I was sleeping with and everything. So during that period of the 3 days prayer and fasting, the Lord showed me mercy. So I knew that the presence of God had returned. So I went to preach that Sunday. So while I was preaching, the Spirit of God just took over. And there was a lady that something was going around her body, the thing stopped. There was a lady that was bleeding up to the essence, up to, even as she got to the church, it stopped when the Lord began to speak about those cases. So I was mentioning the cases and God was settling those cases. And then they were now asking if there were testimonies. So the next Sunday, those people came out testified. That was the one that Brother Eze was talking about. That's what they've always called me, Brother Eze. I was the one Brother Eze was talking about. I was the one that was bleeding, and the bleeding ceased immediately. When I got to my church, it had ceased, and this one was bleeding for months. Everybody were coming out and saying their testimony. So now the church began to become packed because more people were coming, because I ministered for 2 Sundays. So on the 3rd Sunday, something happened. On the 3rd Sunday, something happened. I went to meet the pastor in his office, and his office was at his house because he bought a big mansion. And the office was in his house. And the Lord showed me a vision. Now, while all these things were going on, that girl that I slept with, she was already telling people that I raped her. She was telling people that I slept with her, that I raped her, I took advantage of her. She was telling people that we used to sleep together. So the thing was already spreading around. Now I was just 18. You understand? So I went to meet the pastor. I told him, I said, I see the church scatter like sheep without shepherds. Then he said, what do you mean? He said, well, I want to tell you something. I said, what is going on? He now said, no. He felt I was too young to know what was going on. And he told me that I should go home. So I went home. So the next Sunday, he now called me out and anointed me as his youth pastor. Because everybody was not talking about me in town. They were like, this guy is anointed, this. Look at how God is using him and things like that. So all of them people were now coming, like after service, people would line up and they were asking me questions. And I was just a young child. I was just 18. So when they asking me questions, the Holy Spirit to teach me and I'll just tell them what he's saying. But little did I know what was in front of me. I didn't know that God had already set a pace for training. All of us need training. So after that, the pastor anointed me. So the person that was eyeing the position of the youth pastor was angry. He had even gone to Bible school for it. And they did not give it to him. So we now got to church the next Sunday after he anointed me as a youth pastor. I think that was after I preached. After the second Sunday I preached, he poured the oil on me and anointed me as a youth pastor. So the next Sunday we got to church, all of us were just sitting down. And as we were sitting down, the pastor was talking on the altar. And as he was talking, somebody got up and told him to shut up. And that person got up and asked him where the money he stole was. Then there was another person that was the treasurer of the church. She now got up and was saying that he would just ask her to sign blank checks. And he would put whatever figure he wants to put on the check and carry the money. And that was from their building project. That was the thing that was going on under the table. The pastor did not want to tell me. So me as youth pastor self, I don't chop any money. I don't follow chop any money. But by the time I had $200,000 was missing, I sat down and looked at the pastor and said, "Chai, even myself, I don't even partake for the 200,000." I will say that this guy don't even give me small. But I was youth pastor. So next day now say, "Brother Eze, stand up. Come and stand by my side." That's what the pastor said. I sat where I was. I just said to this man, "You have chopped 200,000. You are calling me to come and stand by your side." I said, "I beg." So everybody were not arguing. So one of them, Brother Prince, was not going close to one of my uncles. He's called Uncle Eze. He's my uncle from my mother's side. That one now stood in front of the pastor, gave Brother Prince head boots. Meanwhile, he worked in the correctional as a correctional officer. That means he worked in prison as an officer. That they used to watch all those inmates. He now gave that one head boots. Brother Prince now is a nurse. So that one now began to bleed. I used to see him on Facebook. He's always trying to preach. You know, he's always trying to preach. He wants to open his own church. Because, you know, many of these people, they believe in the money. The ministry is monetary to them. They want to enrich themselves of the gospel. So, while that was going on, but Uncle Eze gave that one head boot, that one now backed down. So as he backed down, he now almost fell and he started bleeding. So they called the police. Meanwhile, we're using a school hall. We're using a school hall for the church. The church was a school hall at that time. So after this fight, they now began to, the school did not give them the hall again. They had to change location because part of the contract was that they cannot be fighting in that place. So the church scattered as the Lord showed it. They scattered as sheep without shepherds. So when all those things happened, when I had all those things, I just totally lost hope in the church. And me, I was believing in the church and the pastors and all those things. I lost hope in all the people that I knew. So I went back to my lifestyle, the lifestyle I used to live. Because that had happened, the church has scattered. I'm no longer a youth pastor. Nobody's watching me. I went to go and be working as a security officer in the mall. In the mall close to my house. So I was now a security officer. So as I was working as a security officer, before then I was dating one girl from the church. Her name was Vita. So she was like, I'm anointed from play. We began to sleep with each other. You see, that's what I'm trying to explain to you, that the gift of the Holy Spirit will manifest itself even when you are living in sin. But to be spiritually mature, to understand that every time you sin, it takes you years backwards. Now you might think that you are getting away with something. You might think that your life is smooth because the gift is manifesting. Because the presence of God has departed. And you are playing with fire. And that fire will burn you. The same fire that you are manifesting under is what will burn you. Because the presence of God the fire without the presence of God, it means that fire, the anointing, will work against you and kill you. Now, during this period, God began to come to me through dreams to warn me. So one night I went to sleep. Because from being a security officer, I now went into this thing. I went to a nursing school. I went to a nursing school to do CNA. So as I was doing the CNA, before being a security officer, I was doing CNA. Then I was working with my CNA license. So one guy came to meet me. His name is Junior. So when Junior came to meet me, he was trying to introduce me into the fraud game. Remember that I've not even gotten into the drug game yet. He was trying to introduce me to the fraud game, but I wasn't really paying attention to him. Then I finished my CNA. I began to work with the CNA. In the CNA, we just be cleaning elder people, we'll be cleaning them up, giving them bed baths, cleaning their sheet and all those kind of things. That's what we're doing in America. So by the time you get your check, the government has taken almost everything from the money that you are collecting. So then I was now, tired of working. Then I just began to, go on the street to find out what I could do on the street, to make money. So during this time, I now entered into the nursing school fully. So when I went into the nursing school, I began to meet some people. I met, there was this teacher that used to teach us. He was a doctor in Nigeria. And then the nursing school was American Institute of Learning. The Americans, they closed it down because there was a lot of foul play going on in the school. Even before the exam comes out, you can go and collect, you will see the questions before the exam comes out. So we still had students that used to malfunction. That means that a student did not know what um, a non-patient is. So there was one lady that took the bowl. I think that was one of the stories that they were telling us, which was, I don't think it was from our school. The lady was from our school, but she took a bowl and she was supposed to massage a lady that was numb in the leg. And numb in the leg means she cannot feel pain. So she was boiling hot water and asking the lady if she was feeling the pain of the hot water. And she was boiling the hot water until the lady's flesh starts floating inside the bowl. So that person cannot feel pain. So how come we don't know? Because they'll give you the nurse chart. So that nurse chart is what you use to check what is going on with the patient. Because nobody even talks to you. Just go and take the chart and read about the patient when you walk into the hospital. And you now see what is going on. So I used to work in hospitals. I worked in Doctor's Hospital. I worked in Rock Creek Nursing Home. I worked in different places then at a very young age. So doing that, I'm struggling with going legit and struggling with the street money, because I can't get off my mind what I saw Kelvin with, because the money I was seeing with, I thought I could make it. If you go to America, you make the money. Why should I do all those things? It was very hard to make that kind of money. So I said, no, I have to go back to Nigeria, because something happened. Something happened and I had an accident and my hand broke. So I now said, okay, I was going to come back to Nigeria to go back and to pray at the camp, because I had a covenant to be going to the camp to pray at least once every year at that time. So I went back. When I got back to Nigeria, I went to the camp. I called some of my old friends. We were praying. My father was telling them that they should be praying for me, that I'm not behaving well and things like that, because they knew some things I was doing in America. They said I went to America and forgot God. So when I came back, I was trying to retrace my steps. I was trying to link up with the old people that I knew. And this was like after a year, roughly a year of being in America, because I was in America in 2004. That was when I got to America, like April. So I now came back to visit 2005. So all these things had happened within a year. A lot of things were just happening. I had already gotten my CNA license, and I was going to, and I dropped out of the nursing school the first time I went. So I was supposed to go back to continue, but I went to Nigeria. The time I got to Nigeria, and now began to look for. Kelvin was already upset with me, because the first time I got my visa, I was supposed to just carry drugs for them to America. So they were angry that I didn't do the job. So the plan B was that, if somebody sends you to drop the drugs in America, instead of dropping it at the place with the person they sent you with, because you are holding something that is worth like probably that was 5 million naira. And then 5 million naira was $50,000, because I'm getting the calculations right. So that $50,000 now is when you cross the water with those goods, it turns to $1.5 million. So that was how we were doing the game then. So by the time I came to Nigeria, I began to I tried my best to adjust, to try to come back to God. I went to pray. So I now went to go and meet Prophet Psalms. Now Prophet Psalms has always been in my life since that time. And we're talking about 2005. 2005. Right now he's an old man. So I went to see him. So there's our fellowship coordinator from secondary school. We used to call him Brother Bolore. We used to call him Brother Bolore or Prophet Elijah. He was our fellowship coordinator. He used to teach us about the gift and everything and how to manifest in the gift of the Spirit. And he used to tell us that what God was showing us was really, we're kids. We're 16, 17. He was like 24 then. He was 24 then. And then he came from a Muslim background. And because he is a Muslim and he turned Christians, his whole family were persecuting him for being a Christian. And, turning from Muslim to be a Christian. So we now began to pray. So during that time, Brother Bolore now took me to see he said that's his spiritual father, his father in the Lord. Then I did not understand about this father in the Lord thing that Jesus abolished it, and Jesus said it should not happen because the Bible says that you should not call anybody father on earth. There is only one Father which is in heaven. And the other day, I went through something. I went to read this thing myself about fathers. The word father. I went to read it yesterday because the assistant pastor here was telling me about it. And he told me that the word father means source. It means source. So I went to myself to go and look it up. And by the time I looked it up, let me read what I saw. Where did I even look it up? I think it was on this. Yes. How did you know? So the word father let me go to I don't know which phone I used to send it. You that went through it. So the word father, let me read it here. The meaning of father in the Bible can be found in the following Hebrew and Greek terms, where the word is translated from help or Abba father. It means ancestor, source, inventor. So when you call somebody your father, you are calling the person your inventor. That's the person, that is your creator. Somebody that invented you is the one that created you. We need to be looking at the meaning because English is very trickish. That's why Jesus said, do not call anybody your father. That means don't call them your inventor. Don't call them your source. We have only one source. We came from God. You see, I don't know. I've not checked the meaning of daddy. It's good to check all these things in front of you. Wait now, it's good to know the difference. Because that's why you're permitted, it's like you're permitted to call somebody daddy than, let me see. That means all those people you are calling daddy are just wasting your time. Okay. Yeah. Even the word father is my father, my master. It's my father and it means my master. And Jesus said, do not call anybody master on earth. So daddy, the regular Aramaic word for daddy is father. Huh? It's the same thing. It's basically the same thing. That's what it's saying there. I don't know. That's what the Lord said. So now he said was father in the Lord. So he now went to. He now took me there. The guy, the man is in the battle. That's in. If you kick it, it will pause. So the man was in the battle. So went to go and see him. He doesn't speak English at all. He speaks Yoruba. He broke out from Christ Apostolic Church. He broke out from Christ Apostolic Church. So once we got into his house, the first time I met him, as we entered his house, this is when I came back to visit 2005. Remember, I got to America 2004 April. So 2005, towards the end of 2005, which was like October. Within October, as I got to Nigeria, when I began to try to find out what the problem was in my life, what it was. So, and now, Abulai now took me to, he said, this is spiritual father. By the time once we entered his house, he just asked me, he said, who are these two huge men following you? I looked, I did not see anybody. He said, these two huge men follow you, look at them, they are very big. I looked. So when I looked, I didn't see anybody. He said one is holding a big sword and one is holding a big book. Now that the big book signifies a teaching spirit. And the one holding the sword has been given instructions that they should protect you and nobody should harm you. Now no matter what happens, that they'll protect you. Then he said that there's a place underground that you used to go, your auntie used to stay there. When you go to the underground, that she wrote your name on a plate of food, on a bowl, that only you, that this food is for you. I looked at this man and I shouted. Because number one was that my auntie lived in stayed in the basement while we stayed upstairs when we were living in my auntie's house. Because she had thrown me out for going to minister somewhere. So she threw me out because I came back late and she wanted me not to go out with my auntie that was older than her without telling her. So she threw my things out. And she told me that I should leave her house. So that same auntie, that's where I used to live before I came back to Nigeria. She put me in her other apartment. And in that apartment, she told me to stay there. And she wanted to make it a